Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. On the episode today, we have Dennis Patti. Dennis, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Thomas. How are you?
Marvelous. What about yourself?
I'm doing well, doing well. It's a little different at the time, but we're good.
Yes, it's very early for you there, isn't it? So
A little bit.
I don't
I think
doubt
we're
for a
still waiting for
second.
the sun to come up.
Well, I'm okay for that because I'm in the UK, so that doesn't
I know.
really happen here. But would you like to take a moment and tell the audience a bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. My name is Dennis Patti. I'm a socialization strategist and confidence coach, which basically, fancy words will simplify it. It basically means that I help people learn how to communicate better with people, improve their lives by improving their social skills, and just really form connections with people, whether it's in personal relationships, business relationships, to instantly form those connections and instantly build rapport, so that they can, sort of advance themselves in their lives and achieve their goals.
I do like the topic, so thank you for the introduction. In
You
terms
got
of
it.
connecting with people, what would you say the problem is, um, in the sense that what do people struggle with, and then how do you help combat that?
I think the biggest problem that I find is always internal. It's people have they tend to worry about what they're going to say, and they tend to um, you know by doing so worrying about what to say, what people think of them, and by doing that internally ahead of time, it sort of psychs them out for the conversation they're about to have, and in many cases it prevents them from ever even having a conversation, ever even approaching someone in order to break the ice, to talk to them. So a lot of the times, I think the biggest issue is it's your mindset. Um, and that's one of the reasons I focus on confidence and sort of building a strategy with people. Like, one thing I say is that in almost anything in life, right? If you have a strategy, you could be more successful, or you have a better chance of a successful outcome. In sports, right? You have a game plan, you have plays that you run, you have a strategy. In business, you have a business plan. You have your exit strategy and everything, your marketing strategy, whatever it might be, you have a plan of attack. And we're not taught that with socializing, really. Socializing, it's just assumed that we'll know how to do it, which naturally we do, but there's ways to do it better, obviously. There's some people that are better at it than others. And so what I do with people is I work with them to sort of bring out that inner charisma, right? Because I believe that everyone has it in them. I believe they have it in them. So we work to bring that out, and we work in doing so, you build confidence, and you actually build this mindset that makes it so you go into a situation and you don't have that. You might have that feeling of fear still. You might have that little bit of social anxiety, that shyness. That might not just go away fully, but you can manage it. You control it. It doesn't control you.
Whenever I have, let's say, thought about these topics previously, I've always thought about the problem of authenticity. So when someone has said previously, like, you need to be more emotive with your words, or you need to, I don't know, let's act a particular way. I'm sure you've heard all the examples.
Of course,
I've
yeah.
always thought, I don't know if I would be being my authentic self if I did those things. So what are your thoughts there, and how do you tackle that?
I think that's a really great point, and a lot of people get hung up in that. And there's a few ways to go about that. One, you want to be yourself. The whole thing with being a social individual and communicating and interacting with people is to be yourself. People want to meet you. They don't want to meet someone else. They don't want to meet an impersonation of someone else. They want to meet you. So knowing that, and again, we work on confidence and mindset, knowing that we want to bring out the best of you, right? So we want to bring out the things that you're passionate about. We want you to speak about those things, get you excited about that. A lot of people, they'll go into social situations and they'll try so hard to blend in, which is something you can do, but it's almost like they're, like you said, they're not being themselves. So what we want to do is focus on the stuff that you're passionate about. Go to a situation where you're around people that share the same hobbies, share the same passions, excitement that you do. You see this stuff right here, like some of the stuff that I have on my wall. It's just a good example. It's what I show some of my clients is basically I can speak to any of these things here because I'm passionate about it. You might not be into German Shepherds, or well, that's why German Shepherds over here. You might not be into Nicaragua, but guess what? We can probably relate on the idea of, oh, maybe you had a family dog growing up, or maybe you like dogs, right? Or we can relate on maybe not Nicaragua, but we can relate on the fact that world travel, or surfing. You can relate to people, and the goal is to really relate to them. If you can't relate on the exact topic, right, you can relate on the emotion that that topic brings up, right? The excitement behind the travel, the adventure behind it. So the love of a pet, these are the things that you can do. So to be your authentic self, you're more or less just sharing your passion, sharing your joy and excitement, and doing so, it'll make it more natural for you. And in doing so, you can share that that emotion with people. So it doesn't have to be that exact thing. So that's one of the best ways to get over that inauthenticity, is to speak about what you enjoy, and also surround yourself in situations with like-minded people.
It's a great point. Immediately what comes up in my head is the fine line between, let's say, in order to be interesting, you need to be interested, meaning really the focus, I think, in some, as I've heard previously, should be on the other person if you want to, let's say, make good relationships, perhaps. Whereas when someone is like the extreme other end of that might be, I'm going to talk about this topic, even though maybe you're not interested in it, and I'm going to talk your ear off about various different things, and you're not interested in what I've got to say about this. Any thoughts that come up there?
Yeah, I mean, the interested to be interesting, I think that's 100% true. It applies in different situations. Like anything, there's always an exception to the rules, and in some situations it works better, but that's a general rule of thumb. And the idea is, obviously, again, it comes down to this basic, simple concept of people like themselves, right? So if you're interested in what they like to speak about, you have a similarity with them. On top of that, there's another rule of thumb that I tell people is, people like to talk about themselves. Let them do it. A lot of people have that concern of, I don't know what to say in a conversation. The burden can be taken off of you. The weight is lifted off your shoulders when you do that, and it allows the other person to speak, again, about what they're excited about, what they're passionate about. Now, you might not be as excited about that topic, but the idea is to get something that you can relate to, something that you can relate to them about. So during that conversation, they might be talking your ear off about something, but they might bring up something that you can relate to, right? And again, it doesn't have to be an exact thing. You don't have to have a shared experience as much as you have to have a shared emotional attachment to that experience. So you do want that in order to be interested to be interesting. It helps in a lot of ways with certain hurdles that you have to get over. If it's something that you don't know what to say, it helps there. You let the other person do the talking for the most part. If it's something where you want to get to know them better, to be honest, the one thing I say is, the human story is one of the best parts of being able to communicate with people. Hearing the human story, right? Getting that knowledge from someone else, their experiences, and hearing it. And in the world, not every person's going to have an autobiography written, a documentary made about them. And the only way to get that story is to have that conversation with them, right? So when you allow them to speak, you're sort of downloading their life and downloading that data on your end. So it gives them that chance. And in business, it's really important to do that too, because there's a phrase, I don't know, have you ever heard the phrase TINY, the acronym TINY?
No, I haven't.
So in sales, it's an acronym. An old colleague of mine taught me this, is their interest, not yours. And it's just shifting your mindset to really focus on their interest, right? And it's in delivering your sales, because a lot of people get hung up, well, I need to close this, I need to hit these numbers. If you do that, you're going to run into some problems if that's your main focus. Your focus should be delivering for that person. So if you focus on their interest, whether it's in the conversation while you're building rapport or in the sales process, their interest, not yours, is sort of what you want to have. That you want to have that mentality. If you focus on that, you'll have a better outcome in the end.
In terms of how this can be applied, this information, do you have like a summary of where you can apply this information? Because we talked initially about where it would be applied. Do you who is your customer, I guess, is another question. So do you typically work with business owners, or is it just an employee, or and how does better communication impact a business?
Yeah,
there's about 4 different questions there. You can
yeah, I'm sorry, great questions. That's right. All right, listen, let me see if I can keep them all in track, but keep track of them all. But we'll just you remind me if I'm off, okay?
I'll forget them all by then anyway.
All right, so we're on the same boat there. So what were we saying? So anyway, basically, in business and building connections in business it's crucial. And I think a lot of people that are in business or have been in it for years would understand this. I work with a lot of people that are in sales. I work with a lot of people that are actually in the tech end of business, people that are the engineer types, where they're not known for having that charismatic, outgoing personality. They're more the reserved, introverted, behind a keyboard and monitor type. And I work with them to, get past that, bring it out, because what it allows is it allows you to open up a world of possibilities and a world of opportunities. And I think that's the key with communication and with socialization, is that the more you can connect with people and the more people you can connect with, the more opportunities you'll have across the board. It's in business, in personal relationships. The more people you meet, the more people that can point you to the next person that can get you to the next step. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, whatever, you have that opportunity to sort of grow your business, to meet the next crucial member of your team, to meet the next person that can help you scale, bring you to the next level in your business. So these communication skills are essential. I think I got one of those questions, maybe 2 in there. But in terms of where I keep track of everything, can you clarify that one for me? Like summarize stuff. Are you talking about like if I have anything out, like a book kind of thing, or is it more of how I keep track of it personally as a tip?
I'll just I'll pick your best question and pretend that I'm the one that asked it. But one of the questions that I asked was about who your customer is. Who typically comes to you for help?
Yeah. So typically it's on average, it's usually men between 25 and 45 on average that are sort of are at a point in their life where they're at a standoff, right? Where they're good, right? They're comfortable, but they're uncomfortable. There's something next that they want, whether it's that new that ability to get that new job, right? To get that raise. Some of my clients I work with, they just need help in getting a raise and just communicating to get that. And a lot of people are held back by it. And that's one of the hardest things to ever ask for. I don't know if you ever had to go in and go to your boss and ask for a raise. People you get, the sweat starts going, your mind's scattered everywhere, you're saying things you shouldn't say. And I work with them to sort of get them to the point where, no, we have a plan of attack. We know what I need to say. We know what I need to address for their interests. Again, it's you're focused on the other person a lot of times, and it'll help you deliver, right? And it'll help for them to deliver for you. So a lot of people that are just, like I said, a lot of engineers, a lot of people in sales, entrepreneurs that are just looking to branch out. When you're trying to scale your business, you need other people's help sometimes, because you need to be able to learn from them or utilize them to take you to the next level. So I work with people to be able to get those connections.
Have you got any inspirations Who you if you learn from mentors, for example?
Oh yeah, plenty over the years. You know, some of my biggest inspirations. I might not be able to tell this, but I was actually a really shy kid growing up, like very shy, more closed off, reserved, a little distrusting of the world. So it made it so I was like, more shy away from things. Um, I used to have some, awkwardness, anxiety, all these things, everything that everyone goes through. It's all natural. I do want to say that. Let me just put that point out there. A lot of people think like, oh, you're either social or you're not. I'm an introvert. I'm just shy. I just have social anxiety, and they let those things define them. I, I do believe that those things exist and people deal with them and have that issue. But the truth is, you can get over a lot of it. Maybe not every bit of it, but you can get over a lot. And luckily, as I was growing up, I had my grandpa who from a young age, he was there for me. He supported me. He was a quick guy. He was just really sharp, right? So I got a lot of his quick wit from him. And I learned like, okay, you can use humor, right? And you can do these things. I had another influence, a friend of mine, Gary, who a family friend of ours, who he was an influence because he pushed me to get out of my comfort zone. He pushed me to start talking to girls when I was all awkward and didn't know what the heck I was doing, right? And that's like, as a guy, that's some of the scariest stuff you go through growing up, or even as an adult. And a lot of people struggle with it. And he pushed me, and he would make me get uncomfortable. And you would get these, you'd feel like, you'd be embarrassed in the moment, but in the long run, it was the best thing for me. And that getting out of that comfort zone was where you're growing and you experience the most change. So those are two of my personal closest, influences and role models. And then I've just over the years, if you want to if you want to get better at socializing, you can model after people, right? And one of the best things you can do is model after celebrities. So if you ever watch like talk shows or late night talk shows, I was always a fan of Conan O'Brien. Jimmy Fallon, Jay Leno, David Letterman, all of those guys. And I would watch those guys at night, and you'd watch these interactions they'd have. And you'd see this back and forth banter, and you learn from it. You can absorb sort of, okay, well, that was funny when they said that. Okay, look how he's sitting when he's saying this. Look how comfortable they are. They're so relaxed, and you pick up all these things. So a lot of TV helped me out a lot of ways. Actors, celebrities, a lot there. And then for personal, in terms of growth, Tony Robbins, huge Tony Robbins fan. I've been, to a few of his seminars. I did some virtual over the pandemic, which was incredible. And he's just, a huge inspiration in terms of just mindset. Again, just everything right here. This is where the magic happens in the head.
He comes across as very authentic, Tony.
Yeah.
But coming back to the humor side of things, you've done some stand-up comedy, is that right?
Yes.
Any
Yeah.
video? Any video around kicking around the internet?
Is there video? None that has resurfaced yet. None that's resurfaced yet. When I do my presidential run, I'm sure some stuff will come up of me bombing in different clubs throughout New York City. Yeah, I did stand up. It was pretty funny how that came about. I was in college, and I went to school for computer science. I was a nerdy programmer. And in my last year, I think I had to take like a upper level elective that had nothing to do with my major. Well, it turns out stand-up's a very good candidate for that. It's pretty far from the computer science end of things. So I thought I was going into a class it was Intro to Comedy Writing, I think was what it was called. And I thought I was going into a class that's for sketch comedy writing. And I was a big fan of Saturday Night Live and all these sketch comedy shows. I'm like, oh, this is great. And I got to the class and it's stand up. And we're basically writing jokes every week and then going up in front of the class and performing them. And, I'll tell you one thing, stand up comedy. Wow. That was my favorite class I took throughout college. Your final exam is you perform in front of hundreds of people at a major comedy club in New York City, Caroline's on Broadway, in front of all these people, and you go up there and you do your 4-minute set, and it's the biggest rush you can get doing stand up, man. There's nothing like it. When you make a whole room of people laugh and they're laughing with you and they're laughing at your jokes, it's the best feeling in the world. On the other token, when they're not laughing, Oh boy, it is gut wrenching when you bomb. It's one of the worst feelings too, but it makes those highs that much better.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what this quote means to you? You're only one conversation away.
Where'd you get that quote from? Who told you that?
Just something
It's
that I came up with on the spot.
just a little ditty I scribbled out on a napkin
Yeah.
real quick. Yeah. You know, that I growing up, I was told it's all about who you know, and a lot of my life was that was a lesson that I sort of learned early on, and that was the motivation, one of the motivations to get me out and start talking to people. I was like, well, if it's all about who you know, I got to start knowing people, and that was a quote that I lived by for a long time. And then as I went on through all these years and just different interactions, different cities lived in, different countries traveled to, there's there's moments you have where you have a conversation that can absolutely change your life. And a lot of the times you don't even know it. You know, you get into a conversation and you have no idea the impact that will have on you going forward. So one of the quote I live by now is that you're just one conversation away. You're only one conversation away at any point from changing your life. And what I do is I prepare people for those conversations, to have them, to get into them, because I know from experience, I know that I've had conversations with people that inspired me. I know I've had conversations with people that became, just my best friends, like my brothers from another mother kind of situation. Conversations that have gotten me jobs that you didn't know you were going to get because you didn't know you were meeting that person. You had no idea. And just having that ability to converse and connect with people. And the key is connection. Having that ability to connect with them during that conversation, it really, it allows you, again, it opens up opportunities. And you're opening up this opportunity to a new chapter in your life without even knowing it half the time. So it's a strong thing that I live by now, and I really try to teach people that so that they know that that's a possibility out there.
Have you got any thoughts on what we're doing right now is over Zoom? Many people are experiencing many Zoom calls at the moment.
No, yeah.
How your principles apply to the remote video call?
You know, um, it's pretty interesting the shift that the world has had to make. And it is a shift. It really is, Zoom technology, video chat. We were doing it before, but I didn't think, we're not at this scale, obviously. And I refer to like social skills and a lot of them as social muscles. And a lot of people took a year and a half off almost from exercising, hitting the gym, using these social muscles. And they were sheltered in, they go to Zoom. And Zoom's great. It's incredible what we can do. Like, this is amazing right now, right? But you sort of get out of practice. So it's sort of a focus it's sort of a skill that you have to learn and you have to work at, like anything. You go to the gym, you don't go for the 200-pound weights instantly. You got to build up to it. You got to work on it. You got to train. So with Zoom technology, these meetings and remote meetings, there's little things you can do to sort of make them easier for you, make them easier for the people you're meeting with, and to help you build connections over it. One thing, I have stuff behind me on my Zoom calls for a reason. It's one, because I think it makes a pleasant backdrop, but it's also, it sparks conversation. Again, it gives you that ability to relate to people, for them to relate to you, or them to pique their interest. And it can spark communication, spark an interest, spark some sort of conversation where the more conversation you have, or the more ability to learn from someone about them, or them to learn from you, the more chances you have to actually make a connection and build rapport. So on Zoom calls, there's these little tricks you can do. You might have to try a little more. You might have to be a little more emotive, right, on a Zoom call. You might have to throw a few more smiles in, right? Because you're limited to the things you can do. One of the biggest ways to build rapport is through touch, right? Through a handshake, right? Through a tap on the arm, a shoulder, something like that. That builds an instant connection without you even realizing it. It's something that it happens as human nature. It's a subconscious, unconscious thing that happens. Zoom, we lose that ability. So I might have to turn up a little more of the emotions, turn up a little more of the, I talk with my hands. I'm an Italian guy from New Jersey. It's just, they go flying all day and night. So it's natural for me. But sometimes you want to do that a little more, right? So there's little tricks you can do to make it easier for you and make the communication easier. Another thing I tell people is, if you're nervous, because a lot of people get nervous on Zoom calls, look at yourself in the camera in this on the screne. Look at yourself more than you look at the other person. Talk to yourself sometimes. It might sound weird, right? And you don't want to do it the whole time because you obviously want to see what the other person's reactions are. But do that. It takes the burden off you. Again, it can make you feel comfortable in those moments. It's these little tricks that you could do to sort of just ease that social unease and give you the better chance, give you the leg up on building a connection.
Any big mistakes to be aware of?
Whew, lots. I got years of them. Are you kidding me? Yeah, there's a lot of mistakes to be aware of, and in this topic, people are already hard on themselves. In terms of communicating their social skills, people are usually tend to be pretty hard on themselves already. So it's delicate to just always be pointing out mistakes and focusing on mistakes, because then it gets on their head more and they tend to like dive more into it. But there's some things that you can do that you should at least be aware of. And it's not about getting overwhelmed and, oh man, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. We don't want to get to that point, but there's something you do want to do. And one of the best pieces of advice I can tell you is just, one, smile, and two, practice your smile. As weird as this sounds, a lot of people don't realize what they're doing with their face. They just don't. They don't know what it looks like on the other end. It's just a one-way situation for them. They don't spend time receiving what they're putting out. And by doing that, you don't know what other people are getting from you. So to avoid that, and to avoid, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of RBF, resting, I don't know how censored we are, B face, stuff like that.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Okay, that, or if you've ever talked to someone where they just don't, they might make you feel uncomfortable because you're trying to be enjoying the conversation, have fun, and they're just like, no emotion, nothing. When if they just were to give you like a head nod and a smile, it would make the conversation that much better. So one thing to avoid is just sort of not knowing what you're putting out. And the way to solve that is to go practice, like anything. Go to a mirror, and it might feel weird at first, but practice. See what your smile feels like. See what that looks like to you. See what it feels like. So like, all right, that's what this feels like. This is me way too much. This is me nothing, and you get that gauge, and you sort of get that muscle memory, and you figure it out, and you can calibrate. And so it's really just avoid deterring people from making a connection with you right off the bat by knowing what you're putting out there and putting out something a little more warm, a little more friendly.
What percentage of your work approximately comes from confidence-based focus?
It's a lot, a lot, because when it comes down to it, a lot of it's that, and it's the confidence. So there's a foundation I teach in terms of socialization. I say there's a foundation where there's 3 parts to every social interaction we go into. And the 3 parts are basically your motivation, your strategy, and your mindset. Motivation being why you're in the conversation in the first place, what you're having that interaction for, in the first place. Your strategy is what are you going to say, who you're talking to, where you're talking to them, all that stuff, and how, your tricks and techniques. But mindset is the third one, and mindset's the most important one. Your mindset determines your outcome. It really does. It determines everything, because you can go in and say the correct things to the person. Me and you can go into a conversation, do exactly the same things. But if I have a mindset of, it's a negative, this isn't going to work, I'm nervous, I'm unconfident, any of those things, and you're in there, you're confident, you have a great positive attitude about it, you know your outcome, you're going to kill it. You're going to crush me every time. So a lot of people, they get caught up in themselves. I'm telling you, we're our biggest critics. We're our own critics. We beat ourselves up too much. So a lot of people, in order to get that confidence, they need to develop that mindset, and they don't realize it, and they lack the confidence just because they've had a negative experience in the past. They've had something happen in the past where, they've maybe, it could go all the way back to when you were a little kid. You got bullied, or you stood up in front of your class and you gave a presentation and got laughed at, right? It could be anything that just triggers this sort of feeling where you like close down and, you shut down, you close off a little more. And that affects your confidence throughout your life. As much as you might not realize it, you probably didn't nip it in the bud right then. So it's just developed, and you build up more and more and more where you just, you're reserved and you don't have that confidence. You're afraid to venture out and try that talking in front of people again. Now you're afraid to, so you cower away from it, you shy away because your confidence got hit. You don't want to feel that way again. So now it lowers down that confidence level. So if we can give you a plan that you won't get laughed at as much. Sometimes you will. If you're doing stand-up, you want to be laughed at, but if we can establish a plan and a roadmap where you can get through a conversation or an interaction and your outcome is what you get to, and you have a better chance of getting there, that's going to build your confidence, right? That's going to help develop your mindset. And when you do that, and you build up this confidence, and you have a way of, you have a plan, and you're confident, you're unstoppable. You're good. You can talk to anyone, you have a great time.
You're unstoppable. It's a good one.
Yeah.
What should I have asked you about today?
Well, I noticed you didn't ask my favorite color, which I'm a little confused by. No. I think that's the question right there. What should you ask me today? I think maybe what's something that I'm going to answer your question with another question. What's something that you would want to, if you had one question to ask that you say I could use help with one thing, what would it be? What would be the one thing you would want to know, in this field, at all? Like, what's the one thing you could ask?
I suppose selfishly, I would ask about how you can go from being, for example, introverted, which you mentioned previously. Maybe I've categorized myself a little bit, to being someone who's outwardly people friendly. Summarize that incredibly difficult skill for me in the next 1 minute or so.
Oh man, 1 minute? I don't know if you can tell, I'm a little verbose in my answers. Okay. Whew, that's a tough one in 1 minute, but let's try. So how you can go about it is you have to find the joy in it. And I think a lot of people lose the joy in it at a certain point in their life. They lose that joy of human interaction because they don't get to experience the best elements of it. Like I said, you can have something happen in the past part of your life. You could have negative influences in terms of your social skills throughout your life. You could have, you could be in a family. I had a friend of mine grew up just very introverted family. Like, they all kept to themselves. They read books. They just liked to stay quiet, and that was it. They were reserved, and that was it. He lived with me. I pushed him. I was like, no, get the hell out there. We're going out. We're going to go meet people. We're going to talk. And we were getting heated arguments about it because he's like, I don't want to go. And I'm like, let's go, and I would push him, and he credits me with a lot. He credits me with like helping him meet his wife because of that. And it changed him, where basically now he's able to get out and do that. And it's because he found the joy in communicating with people. Like I was saying before, a lot of people, you're never going to hear their story. You're never going to read their biography. You're never going to see a movie about them. It's just not going to happen. And you can learn so much from, I don't care if they're a janitor, a garbage man, a CEO, whatever they are on the spectrum of life. You can learn so much from those people, from anyone. And it's knowing that and finding joy in communication. I get in Ubers and I have fun with the drivers because half of them don't want to talk to anyone either. They're just quiet, and I'll pull teeth to get that conversation going. By the end, they won't shut up. you know? So it's finding that joy. And the way you do it is, I think you need to, again, you need to have tools and tricks to sort of make you more comfortable in the situation. And when you can do that, and you can build up the confidence, build up that mindset where you start seeing the positive from it, it'll make it more enjoyable for you. If it's more enjoyable, you're going to want to do it again. That's what we want to do. We want things that are fun for us, right? I
I
have a
think
little bit longer on that, but I tried to reserve it to one.
that one piece of knowledge alone is interesting in the sense that you can get joy from communication, and everyone has a story, and therefore, if you can get joy from it and everyone has a story, why don't you go find out what it is? I think that's
Yeah.
that's a very good piece of information to have.
It's better. It's the live book. Who needs to read the book? I got the author right here, the whole story, you know?
What are your goals, Dennis?
Oof. I'll tell you my biggest goal in life. That's the target. I'll tell you what I'm shooting for. And I'm shooting for the ability to, it's success, but it's success on a level to give back in an unlimited capacity. That's my goal long term, is to give back, and it's in a lot of ways. One of the things is the short term leads to the long term. So in the short term, I want to help people just get what I get out of this, find this joy, because I've been on the side where it sucks. It's tough to talk to people. You don't feel that enjoyment. You struggle with it. You're like, oh, it's a chore. It's almost painful. And I've been on the side where you're anxious, you're nervous, you're sweating, your brain's all over the place, your mind's running. Sometimes you just draw blanks. I've been in all those moments. And now that I've seen that, no, there's fun to this. Like, you can have fun with it. You can open up your world. I want other people to experience that. So that's essentially why I'm in this field. I was pushed here by a lot of people throughout my life, friends, family, that just were like, you got to teach people this. And I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. But the end goal, I just want to never have to think about helping someone. I never want to have to think about giving back. I have a foundation in Nicaragua. That's why I'm so close to it. We have a foundation we started on there. I want to be able to fund that forever, where it's never, not even a concern. We don't get donations this month. It doesn't matter. So I really want to get to that, make sure my family is always taken care of. My friends ever need help, it's taken care of, help solve all these problems in the world hunger, all these things that I think we can do, that an average person can solve if we get there, if enough of us get there, So that's the big picture goal.
It's a good one. You got any closing thoughts that you want to share?
I got lots of them. No, I mean, closing thoughts. I would hope if people take something away from this, other than the soothing voice over here in the morning, it would be that there's that if you are, if you describe yourself as introverted, if you describe yourself as having social anxiety, being shy, that there is an opportunity to change that if you want. And I'm not here to sell you on that opportunity or sell you on the idea of it, but I will tell you that for me and for the people that I work with and people that I know, improving your social skills and taking that chance to improve and to try to experience it in a different light has been life-changing. So I want people to know that there's an opportunity to do it, and that in doing so, it will open up their world to a lot more potential and opportunities,
Dennis, where's the best
Yes.
place for people to find you?
Thomas, if they find me at my door right now, it's probably not the best place. But you can check out my website, DennisPattiCoaching.com. I think you have it up. It's DennisPatti coaching.com. One of the things I'll tell you, if you go to there now, there's actually a free guide available to download. It's completely free. Just put in your email, I send you a guide. in that guide, it's going to give you, it's called Talking to Strangers, 5 simple tricks for instantly connecting with anyone. I think it's vital for business. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're in sales, or if you're in any type of situation, you want to meet people, you want to make friends, you move to a new city. These 5 tips are going to help you do that. If you follow these tricks, follow them for the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I guarantee you'll see some sort of results, and I guarantee you'll start changing, maybe your focus on things and just being better at communicating with people. So you can check me out there. And then at Strategize to Socialize on Instagram as well.
Great. Thank you for all the value today. I think you've performed amazingly given the time where you are. So, like I said at the beginning, there is no way I could do what you've done today based on what I am as not a morning person. But yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Thomas. I really appreciate you having me. This was fun. And like I said, I hope people get something out of this and go out there and start talking to people. You're one conversation away. Go have the conversation.